I sat in the corner booth of that tiny diner off 3rd Street, the one Ethan and I used to go to after his late-night shifts. Same red leather seats, same lukewarm coffee, same cracked formica table. Only this time, I was alone. And for the 100th time, I unfolded the divorce papers. My name, his name. The signatures. The clean, quiet end to our marriage, typed out in cold black ink. He didn't even leave a letter. Not a confrontation, not a goodbye. Just his signature. A few legal lines. And the sticky note I still couldn't stop reading. I already said goodbye. You just didn't hear it. I keep asking myself the same question, how did I not see it coming? He still kissed me goodnight. Still held my hand. Still made me breakfast on Sundays. He even booked our anniversary trip to Santorini, paid in full. Planned it to the hour. How do you hold someone like that, while quietly planning your exit? I want to say I didn't deserve this. That it came out of nowhere. But that would be a lie, and I've told enough of those already. The truth is, I was cheating on him. 4 months. It started like all bad things do, small, almost harmless. Late-night texts with a coworker. One too many compliments. Drinks that turned into a kiss. Then another. Then nights. I thought I was managing it. I thought I could juggle guilt with routine, and no one would get hurt. I convinced myself that Ethan didn't know. That I was being smart. Careful. But now, sitting here, divorced, abandoned, completely undone, I realize, he knew. He knew the whole time. He watched me lie to his face, and he played along like it was a game he'd already won. I thought I broke him with my betrayal. But it turns out, he was already gone. If you'd looked at us from the outside 2 years ago, you'd think we had it all. 6 years married. A beautiful home. A well-fed golden retriever named Max. I posted the anniversary photos like clockwork, his arm around me, both of us smiling in front of some coastal backdrop. But what the photos never showed was the silence between us. How we'd eat dinner in front of the TV. How we'd go days without touching more than each other's shoulders in passing. Ethan had always been dependable. Solid. The guy who fixed the cabinet without being asked. Who brought home my favorite lemon scones on Fridays. But somewhere along the way, the spark between us dimmed. And then, I started feeling invisible. He'd work late. Fall asleep on the couch. Forget to ask about my day. He wasn't cruel, just distant. It wasn't intentional, I told myself. He was just busy. Tired. Trying. But deep down, I missed being seen. Desired. Heard. That's when Tyler walked into my life. He was new at my job, young, sharp, dressed like he was always going somewhere better. He noticed me. Complimented my perfume. Laughed at all my jokes, even the unfunny ones. It started small. A few extra seconds at the coffee machine. Harmless texts that turned into midnight memes and emojis. He made me feel interesting again. Like I wasn't just someone's tired wife. Then came the happy hour. I remember the music. The dim bar. His hand brushing mine over the glass. I remember laughing too loudly, the warmth of the tequila, and the moment I let him kiss me. I could have stopped there. I should have. But I didn't. That night turned into a pattern. Into mornings filled with guilt and afternoons of pretending nothing happened. Still, Ethan kept being Ethan. He'd cook dinner. Surprise me with concert tickets. Ask if I needed anything from the store. He didn't act different. Didn't seem suspicious. In fact, he seemed calm. Too calm. I told myself it meant he didn't know. That I was still in control. But looking back now, I see it for what it was. That wasn't cluelessness. That was restraint. The longer the affair went on, the better I got at hiding it. I memorized excuses. Scheduled meetings that didn't exist. Deleted messages so fast it became muscle memory. Tyler and I stopped going to the same places. We used his place mostly. Always his place. At first, it was thrilling. The secrecy. The attention. The validation. But over time, Tyler changed. He became colder. Less curious. More interested in my body than my words. The jokes stopped being sweet and started sounding rehearsed. Like he was already on to his next distraction. I knew what that meant. I'd become his routine. Just like Ethan had become mine. I hated what I was doing. But I hated the idea of stopping even more. Because stopping meant facing the fact that I'd built my worth around the way someone else looked at me. And Ethan. Ethan never stopped looking at me like I mattered. So when he surprised me with an anniversary trip, I didn't know how to react. A weekend getaway in a lake cabin. Handmade coupon book. Flowers. Chocolate croissants from my favorite place across town. He even wrote me a letter, folded into the shape of a heart, like he used to do back in college. And then I read the line that split me in half. Here's to loving you, even when I no longer recognize you. I froze. My heart slammed against my chest like it was trying to confess for me. Was it a metaphor? A poetic line? Or was he telling me he knew? I stared at him across the dinner table that night, watching him pour me wine like nothing was wrong. Smiling like always. And I remember thinking, this isn't love anymore. This is something else. Something quieter. Sharper. Still, I went to Tyler's that night. Maybe out of defiance. Maybe fear. Maybe just habit. But I left his place feeling emptier than ever. He barely kissed me goodbye. When I got home, it was nearly midnight. I tried to sneak in quietly, heels in hand, coat over my shoulders. Ethan was already awake. He was sitting in the armchair in the dark, one leg crossed over the other, a glass of bourbon in his hand. The lamp cast a soft glow across his face. He didn't say a word. Just stared at me, not in anger. Not in heartbreak. But in a way that made me feel like I didn't even exist to him anymore. That stare haunted me more than yelling ever could. Because in that silence, I knew he wasn't waiting to catch me. He'd already let me go. After that night, something in Ethan shifted. He wasn't cold. He wasn't cruel. He was just distant. Like a radio station that used to come in clear, now playing nothing but static. He stopped saying good morning. Stopped asking how my day was. Stopped sitting next to me on the couch. We used to have this habit where I'd curl my legs under his, and he'd instinctively rub my ankle without thinking. That stopped, too. He moved into the guest room without a word. Started coming home later and later, sometimes not at all. When I asked where he'd been, he'd just say, out. He started traveling, claimed it was work, but I never knew for sure. His suitcase was always packed before I could ask, and when I texted, he'd reply hours later, if at all. I felt the walls closing in. Tyler became irrelevant. His jokes weren't funny anymore. His touch made my skin crawl. So I ended it. Told him it was over. He barely reacted. Like I'd been the distraction, not the center. I thought ending the affair would make me feel clean again. Worthy again. But it didn't. It was too late. Ethan wasn't mine anymore. I tried planning a date night. Bought his favorite bourbon. Made steak the way he liked it, medium rare, garlic butter, fresh rosemary. He didn't show up. Never texted. I fell asleep waiting. Still in the dress I wore for him. Mascara on my cheeks. And then came the morning that ended it all. I woke up to silence. No door creaks. No coffee brewing. No sound of him shaving in the bathroom. Just silence. I got out of bed and walked into the kitchen, barefoot, still groggy. There was nothing. No suitcase. No coat. No car in the driveway. Just a sealed envelope on the kitchen table. Inside, divorce papers. Filed. Signed. Dated, a month ago. He'd already made his decision before I ever thought about changing mine. And then I saw the sticky note. Yellow. Simple. Written in his handwriting. I already said goodbye. You just didn't hear it. At first, I thought Ethan was staying at a friend's. Or maybe with his sister upstate. I called. Texted. Left voicemails I immediately regretted. Nothing. Then I reached out to people we both knew. Our mutual friends. His coworkers. His old boss. Anyone. But every answer I got was some variation of the same 3 words, he's gone, yeah. One friend finally agreed to meet me in person, Melissa, a quiet graphic designer we'd had dinner with a few times. She looked almost uncomfortable to see me. We sat across from each other at a little cafe, and I asked, "Do you know where he went?" She hesitated, then looked me dead in the eyes. He resigned 2 months ago. Told the company he was moving out of the country. Sold the lake cabin. Cashed out your joint investments. Quietly. Legally. I felt like the ground tilted beneath me. He dismantled our life piece by piece, while I was still sleeping beside him. But why wouldn't he? I started. And that's when she said it. He hired a private investigator, you know. He had everything. Photos of you and the other guy. Texts. Dates. Hotel logs. He had known. Before the anniversary. Before the bracelet. Before the candlelit dinners and quiet mornings in bed. He knew everything, and he still smiled through it all. Still kissed my forehead. Still pulled out my chair. Still traced little hearts into the foggy mirror after his showers. All of it was a farewell tour. He wasn't loving me blindly. He was saying goodbye with perfect clarity. I thought he was holding on. But he was just making sure I would never forget what I lost. A week later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a velvet box, the kind jewelers use. It was the bracelet he gave me for our anniversary. The one with the inscription, "For all the truth you never told me." Only now, it was broken. Snapped clean in half. A quiet, final message, you don't get to keep the memory without the consequence. It's been 7 months since Ethan disappeared from my life. No confrontation. No closure. Just clean exits and cold facts. I go to therapy now. Twice a week. Not for him. Not even to understand why I cheated. But because I don't trust myself anymore. I second-guess everything, every instinct, every feeling. I keep people at arm's length because I'm terrified of repeating the cycle. Of needing too much and saying too little. Of chasing attention instead of healing the root of the loneliness. Sometimes, I scroll through Ethan's old social media, hoping to find something. A clue. A post. A vacation picture. Anything. But it's all gone. Wiped. Deleted. Like he scrubbed his identity clean of me. Like he never existed. That's the part that still breaks me, not the silence, but the surgical precision of it. He didn't scream. He didn't beg. He didn't try to fix me. He just vanished. That was his revenge. Not anger. Not revenge porn. Not a big fight. Just silence. A clean cut. And the unbearable weight of my own reflection. People say cheating is a mistake. A lapse in judgment. And for a while, I leaned on that ideal like a crutch. But I've come to realize something far worse. Sometimes, the cost of cheating isn't a breakup. It's your entire future walking away, quietly, with dignity, while you're too busy trying to feel wanted. I didn't just lose Ethan. I lost the version of myself who was still worthy of the kind of love he gave me. And now, every time I look in the mirror, I see the same person. But the girl in the reflection knows better. Knows what it feels like to be held with love. And to be let go without mercy. I tell myself I would do it differently if I had the chance. That I'd stop the first kiss, delete the first text, come clean when I still had time. But regrets are funny. They always show up too late, like shadows in the rearview mirror. And the question I still can't answer, the one that wakes me up at night, is this: what do you do when the person you hurt doesn't fight you, they just disappear, and leave you to fight yourself forever?